Welcome back to another episode of Top 5. Top 5 is a series where we bring subject matter experts from around the real estate and business world together to share their best practices on things that you can easily apply to your business and help grow a long-term, profitable, sustainable business. So I am excited to welcome our guest today. Our guest is Verl Workman from Workman Success Systems. Verl has coached thousands upon thousands of the top agents and teams in the United States. And Verl, welcome. We're glad that you're here.
I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having me, Chance.
So I'm going to be completely honest and tell you that when you agreed to do this and we hadn't really come up with a theme of what we wanted to do, I had this idea that we were just going to get like super granular on this one thing or another thing. And then after talking to some people, we really kind of went almost entirely the opposite direction. And it's just, why do agents need a coach? And I think that that's a question that a lot of agents feel like they want to know, and they feel like they want to coach. They're scared of maybe the cost. They're scared of probably being really held accountable. But we wanted to get your take on what are the top 5 reasons that an agent should hire a coach.
So I love the question. And it's not, usually when we do a webinar, we do a seminar live, we get to talk about everything except that. We get to talk about all the best practices, changes people need to make in their lives, success habits, things like that. But no one really wants you to talk about coaching because they feel like you're selling coaching. And so I'm going to take a perspective today, if that's okay with you, of the philosophy behind coaching, and really kind of get into it with you. I had a hard time for a long time, Chance, describing to people why they would need a coach because I couldn't put it into words. And then one day I was in Phoenix and I had gone out to stay with my sister, who's a real estate agent there. Her husband's a golf pro and works at a golf course, and he's been teaching for 30 years. He used to play on tour. He's just a phenomenal golfer. He works with only really low handicappers. The U of A golf team will go out and work out with him. And it was 11 o'clock, maybe 11:30 at night, and I went out to see Blair. He's still on the driving range. And I said to Blair, why are all these people out here at 11:30? He goes, it's the only time you can play golf in the summer in Phoenix because it's so hot outside. And there were all these people on the driving range. And I said, are these people getting better? He goes, no, most of them, I see them all the time, but they don't get any better. And I said, well, why not? He says, well, because they're practicing bad habits. They have a bad swing and they come out here and they practice it over and over and over again, and it puts it in their muscle memory. And then when they go out and play, they aim to the left because their ball's going to slice right. And I said, well, how do you fix that? And he says, let me show you. And he walked me down to a little area that he had blocked off, and he had set up a golf cart with a camera on it and a monitor and a viewer. And he said, watch this. And he put a student out there and he said, okay, I want you to hit the ball like you normally hit it. And he did the strokes. And then he told the guy, now come back here and look at the monitor and let me show you what you're doing. Do you see how when you go, your backswing starts here, but when you come back down, you put your hands over, the club comes over here and it comes across the ball at an angle, creating a slicing blow that makes the ball curve to the right. And the guy says, oh, I didn't get that I was doing that. And then Blair put a couple of tools down on the ground. He said, I want you to look here and swing here instead of looking at the ball. And now just take a couple strokes with that. And the ball just went perfectly straight. And he says, now come back here and look at the screen and let me show you what you just did. And that for me was like this, like eye-opening, right? It was this lightning bolt thing because I said, that's what a coach is. A coach sees your game from a different perspectives, helps you make small incremental adjustments, comes back and shows you what kind of an impact they made. Right. Blair says, if I can, in the first lesson, give them 1 or 2 things that they can see or make a difference, they'll sign up for a series. And then they will believe everything else I say because these first 2 things work so well. Right. And so for me, like coaching is like a guide. I use the example, Chance, and you're a fit guy. Have you ever climbed Mount Everest?
I have not.
Me either.
I don't like to go places where white stuff falls out of the sky. It's not for me.
So I've never done I've never done Everest either, but I have done several 50 and 60-mile hikes at the high Uinta Mountains in Utah with the Boy Scouts. I've taken them, for a week-long trips and high adventure, teaching them life principles. And I think about, going 60 miles at 10,000 feet, and then you hear about someone who summits Everest and the journey they went on, and the people that died. And then I go to a conference and hear about the guy who was blind that summited Everest, right, and another guy who did it with prosthetic leg. And I'm like, okay, I can't even walk up the hill. And so if you ever watch any movies or you see any documentaries on Everest, I learned about this group of people that live in Nepal called Sherpas. And the Sherpas are the locals. They're the ones that you go to, and they are literally experts on the mountain. They eat, drink, and sleep the mountain. They know where the crevices are. They know the days you should summit. They know when you should stop and acclimate. They know if someone's going to make it or not make it before they even start. They know if you have the right gear. And so I want you to think about this. Your life is a Mount Everest. What we do in real estate is it's this journey where we want to summit, and what's at the summit is the life that we want. It's the family, it's the income, it's the ability to pay for our kids' weddings, it's the ability to put our kids through college, it's being able to retire with our spouse and live a great life and see the world, or whatever it is that interests you. And that's the summit. And so we have this journey that we're going through in real estate, and we have to get to the summit. And so if you were going to go climb Mount Everest, is there any chance you would do it without a Sherpa?
Absolutely not.
Okay, so that's a small thing that you do for an adventure in life, but your life's work, your career, is filled with crevices and obstacles and weather changes and COVID and social unrest and housing crisis and interest rates rising and prospecting issues. We have all of these things. And if you could have somebody on your climbing team that has been up this mountain 100 times and knows what to do with each of those obstacles to help you get through faster, do you think your Everest of life would be a more enjoyable journey?
Absolutely. If you listened and did what you were told, right?
Right. Yeah, well, that's the key. And so when you think about whether or not you should have a coach, I think that the number one reason is that it's like, why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you, in this greatest summit of your life, the career that you've chosen to provide for your family, hire a Sherpa to help guide you through the process to make sure that you come back to your home and you have the income and you have the life balance and you have the stability that you set out to achieve when you started the journey. So many of us just wander around in circles and never actually go anywhere. And at the end of our careers, we have nothing of value. And so a coach will help you with those things. So the first thing is just to get a guide. It's to have someone who goes, we've been down this road so many times that when you try and go down it chance, all of a sudden, you don't have to invent everything from scratch. As you built all your programs in your company, what would that journey been like had you not had your coach?
I use the term, it's unconscious incompetence, right? Like you don't know what you don't know.
Right.
And so, I can give you the example from literally this morning. I was on with my coach and broker owners in Michigan, 1,500 miles away from here, discussing best practices. And just to have that perspective and have those people where, I would never have known them to pick up the phone and call. But because of that, now we have a little bit better shared experience on moving forward with an initiative that we're working on. And so, it's an enormous game changer from trying to do everything on your own, which I think is a downfall of agents, regardless of if it's a coach or a transaction coordinator or an admin or a VA or whatever that looks like. I think it's a downfall of agents who just don't know and recognize the value of their time, and they don't affix a dollar amount to that. I would say the same thing goes from an investment of your time and money into a coach.
That's right. So, I've had a few clients over my career that have called or emailed and they want to cancel coaching because they don't feel like they're getting value. And I always go, wow, I'll coach you for free. I mean, If you're doing what your coach is telling you to do and you're not having success, then we got to figure out what the problem is. But I would say that 99.9% of the time when I go in and look at it, it's not that the coaching advice isn't good. It's that they're not doing what the coach is asking them to do. So coach gives you a step-by-step guide. It's like I want you to imagine being with your Sherpas. The Sherpas see the storm coming in. They say, today's not a day to summit. Let's wait till tomorrow. And you get up and go try and summit anyway and get killed on the mountain. Right. By not following coaching advice is devastating. But in real estate, we just don't sell as many transactions. And so we think, oh yeah, I'm not getting value from that. The value comes by the execution of the advice. And it's by actually following the way. So number one is, I believe a coach is like a Sherpa. It's a guide that has been up there, many, many times. They can get you there faster, safer. It can get you to income a lot faster and life balance a lot faster but while lowering your stress. Would it be I don't know if it's odd to you to think this way, but when I have an agent come to me that's doing 20 or 30 transactions and they're overwhelmed, they're tired, they don't want to do 50 or 100. And I tell them at 200 transactions, you'll be working less than you are at 20. It blows their mind.
Right.
Because they're doing it all themselves. And so what we help them do is create leverage in their business and in their life so they can do more with less personal effort. And it's a really cool concept.
Yeah, it's just getting out of your own way from a self-control issue, right? And realizing that while nobody's going to love your baby the way you love your baby, you can create processes and systems that ensure that the baby at least gets loved. Right. And then the second part of that is really, I just don't think agents do a good enough job of understanding their value. I know that they don't do a good enough job of interpreting their value to their clients, but I don't think that they really take the time and say, okay, if I'm going to make $100,000 a year, then I need to make X number of dollars a day. And this is the amount of hours that I'm going to work in a day. And let's divide those numbers into one another. And let's come up with an hourly rate of what I'm worth. And then is it really worth my time to be doing accounting? Is it really worth, you say it all the time, take the stuff that you're bad at and just get rid of it, right? Don't try to win some moral victory by becoming good at something you're bad at. Stop.
Right. Delegate it.
Yeah, exactly. So anyway.
You bring up an interesting thought. I think, it's trading time for money.
That's right.
So I look at, for me, I'm a father. I have 6 children. I have 9 grandkids. I have a unbelievable wife who tolerates all of my craziness and allows me to do what I love. And when I get up every day and I go to work and I leave those people that I care so much about, it just has to be worth it. Mm-hmm. And so if I'm going to spend an hour away from my family, how about I spend that hour doing something that really will make a difference in their lives instead of doing fake work? And so many agents and brokers and team leaders get up every day and they go to the office and they have a feeling of busyness, but they don't actually do anything that moves them closer to a goal. And so what they're doing is they're not keeping the promise to their family that they were going to do everything they can to provide for them. They go out there and they pretend to work, but they're not doing the things that make a difference. And a coach can help give you that clarity and perspective. So my number one is coaches like a Sherpa, as we talk about the 5. The number 2 thing, can I go to number 2, Chance?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So the number 2 thing is perspective. When Blair showed me my golf swing from the perspective of standing behind and looking at what I'm doing, I'm standing too far away from the ball. I'm going over the top with my swing. I swing my head and look up when I follow through instead of looking at the ball. When he showed it to me from a different perspective, it was easier for me to make the adjustments. When he told me about it without showing it to me, I couldn't make the adjustment. So a really good coach, a great coach, has the ability to look at your business from a different perspective and then teach you how to see it clearly from that perspective so you can make the proper adjustments. Now, the thing that if you heard the things I said they're going to help you see it from a different perspective so you can make the adjustments. The coach doesn't make the adjustments for you. Right. They guide you through the process and allow you to see what they see so you go, oh, now, how many times has Cleve said to you something that you were doing and you go, oh, crap, you're right?
Really regularly, honestly. And because Cleve does it in his nice, sweet Southern Atlanta voice, sometimes I don't realize it for hours that he's called me a dumbass. But I'll be sitting at home that night and I'll be like, you know what? I think Cleve might have called me stupid today in our coaching call. And yeah, now that I think about it, it is. And so we can go back and we can make those adjustments. And I think you hit on a great point there. One of the things that we're constantly talking to agents about is they've got to make time and take time to step outside of the minutia of the day-to-day task-oriented things that they're doing and really look at their business from sort of that 30,000 foot view, right?
Yeah. You know, if you're making 100,000 a year, your time's worth what? You know, $100 an hour.
Sure.
If you're making $1 million a year, your time's worth $1,000 an hour. And so if you want to make $1 million a year, and it's totally realistic and possible to do in your market, then look at the task that you do and ask yourself the question, would I be willing to pay someone $1,000 an hour to do this task? And if the answer is no, take it off your list.
Exactly.
So if the answer is no, then let's not do it yourself. So that perspective and seeing it really makes a big difference in helping a client move forward. They see it, like, holy crap, I can hire someone to do that for $20 an hour and I'm doing it for $1,000. And that's why you're not making $1,000 an hour, is because you're not focusing on $1,000 an hour activities. I mean, really, the only thing a leader should be doing, a team leader in real estate, is business development and people development. Everything else should be delegated. So I'm either developing people that create the leverage that I want in my business and my life, or I'm out there elephant hunting, looking for the deals that create opportunities for everybody in the business. And so I'm doing business development, people development. Man, if I can get agents to think that way, what's your job? They think it's to sell houses. No, it's not. Selling houses is the easy part. Business development is the hard part. And then developing people to provide, white glove service to those clients. That's where the magic happens.
Well, and you kind of mentioned it earlier, when you start to see that perspective from whether it's a golf swing and you can get a couple of quick, easy wins right out of the gate. Once you change that perspective, those wins just start to snowball, right? And so you start to see things like, okay, well, I need to be doing this instead of this. Or, hey, if I actually picked up my phone and made phone calls instead of using it to check Facebook, I'm going to sell a lot more homes.
Right.
Yeah.
So number one is, coach is like a Sherpa, the guy that's been there 1,000 times. Number two was, getting you to look at your business from a different perspective. You're so in it. You don't see the forest for the trees as real. And so you got to get out. You got to elevate above the trees, above the tree line. I use an example of a hot air balloon looking down on the business. You can see it clearly from that other perspective. So the third reason, or the third in my top 5, when you think about coaching, is the clarity that happens. And so I like to say that which gets measured gets done. And I'm not a high analytical. If you look at my disc profile, the C is my lowest part.
Same.
And so we're drivers. We go out there and make crap happen. We're eyes. People like us. We're good at building relationships. But when it comes to like the details, that's like nails on a chalkboard to me. But in my growth as a businessman and as a business leader, I've learned that if I track the right things, it gives me clarity in my business so that I can make the right decisions. But if I don't track them analytically, if I don't track the activities that generate the result I want, if I don't track my income and my net income and my operating, if I don't track those things, then we make poor decisions, and we may earn more and spend more, but we have less at the end. And what's the point of doing that? And so clarity happens when someone starts to question you on the things that you don't naturally track, and then put systems in place that allows you to track them. All of a sudden you have clarity and you go, you know what? I mean, I remember talking to you early on in your career about a business model and whether or not there would be profitability in it and what had to happen to get there. You remember that conversation?
All too well.
And so just by having somebody ask you those questions, it made you think differently about how we build a business model that has profitability and allows you to create the services and give so much to the agents that are part of your organization. I think it's really interesting.
Well, and the funny thing is, just because we were talking about it a minute ago, the phone call that I was on this morning with my coach and with those brokers out of Michigan, we were talking about exactly what this is. It's tracking and measuring. We were talking about building key performance indicators and the modeling around that, because that's a big thing in our business right now that we're doing. Is we want to, and I'm the same way as you, that's not my natural habitat. And so really what I'm trying to do is say, these are the goals. Now, somebody who's more detailed than me, let's build the modeling around how we actually track that. but we want to have a deal. We've revamped our new agent training program. And our goal now is that from hire date, 75 days later, we want them in their first transaction. And so I've dictated that goal. Now we just have to build the tracking to do that, which we can do. But that was the whole point of the call this morning, was how do we build in benchmarking models in the business?
Isn't that beautiful?
Yeah. So it kind of fits perfectly into this third point.
But you don't think that way on your own. It requires somebody else from a different perspective to say, what about that? I was on a coaching call just this week, and we were talking about results. And with all the things that are going on in the world right now, people are struggling. There's limited inventory. Things are selling fast, and people are trepidatious about putting the houses on the market. And so we looked at where are we in relationship to our goals? And this team was off the mark by about 25% of where they should be. And they says, well, so should we adjust the goal? What do you think my response to that was?
No. I know what your response was.
My response is, let's not just a goal. Let's just change our activities. So how many listing appointments do you have to go on each week in order to hit the goal? And the goal is a big number. It's 360 transactions. And we looked at the listing appointments, and to hit our goal between now and the end of the year, I need 2 listing partners averaging 2 listing appointments each week. So how many calls do they need to make each day to generate a listing appointment? So what we did is we started breaking down, instead of measuring the win by how many transactions we sold, every day we measure the win by, did you have enough conversations to set an appointment today?
Right. And it's just kind of reverse engineering the goal, right?
100%. But that concept took it from unattainable, move the goal, to, I can do that. I can get 2 appointments a week.
People.
Right.
Yeah. And that's one of the biggest things that we struggle with. And I recorded I do another series on this channel called Power Tools that are just quick little things every Monday morning. And one of the things that I think that we do as agents, and I talked about it, I talked about it in a past episode of that, is I think as agents, we have a tendency to overthink prospecting, when to me, all it really is can I start a conversation? Can I have an engagement, whether it's a text message, an email, phone call, video, whatever it is. If somebody comments back on that, to me, that's the simplest thing, is can you just start a conversation? Doesn't have to be about real estate yet, but we can lead it there.
We're connecting.
The back and forth discussion going.
Yeah, I totally, we do overcome. No one talks anybody into buying or selling a house. Like no one moves because of me. They move because of the life events occur in their own lives. They move because their kids moved out, their kids moved back in, they got transferred, they had a wedding, they had a divorce, whatever reason, those life events that occur, I have nothing to do with me. All I am is a relationship that needs to be at the front of their mind at the moment that life event occurs. And so as a real estate agent, we have to put ourselves in that position. So to have 2 conversations a week is no big deal. Well, I may need 5 conversations to set 2 appointments. So that's 1 conversation a day. And so every day, by getting up and doing the activities, it will create a conversation every day so that I can get an appointment every 2 days and get my 2 appointments a week. It starts to happen. And you watch this team, they'll hit their 350, and it's going to be an amazing year for them.
And that's that, how do you eat an elephant, right?
Right.
One bite at a time.
You get up every day and you make it a win. I can't control life events that happen in people's life, but I can control the activities that I focus on every single day, so that when they do occur, I'm up front of mind. They think of me first.
That's it.
Focus on the things we can control. So that's number 3, is the clarity. It's the crystal clear environment and the awareness that allows the decision-making process of how to govern your day. That's a big part of coaching. We created that 61 points of rhythm, the daily success habits.
Right.
And a lot of people think, I hate doing my DSHs. Well, it's because you don't get why we do it. They're not for me. They're not for your coach. It's so you can have clarity and awareness of what's going on in your day, and work on filling the gaps so that you can get the goals that you've set for yourself and your family. It's not for me, it's for you.
Right. That's it. That goes back to that accountability discussion that you and I have had on multiple occasions, right?
Yep. Guess what? That's number 4. accountability, a lot of people they misunderstand accountability. I misunderstood it for a lot of years. Now I have this big coaching company and all of these amazing coaches that we develop and train, and we have to change their mindset on what accountability is. We think that accountability is something that you do to someone who's not behaving correctly. And so you hold them accountable, you put their feet to the fire, you make them do that. And what I've learned is that this industry is filled with really strong-willed people, and I can't make anybody do something they don't want to do. So accountability is not something I do to someone, but it's awareness that allows them to hold themselves accountable. Accountability is a choice that you make. I choose to be held accountable by my coach, my spouse, my children, or my family to do the right things every day so that I can get this predictable result. And when I have a culture of accountability, we track the activities that get the results, we turn in, we report them. By asking those questions and creating that culture of accountability, it changes the performance. And that's how we go from where you are today to double and double, is because we incorporate this spirit of accountability, which is not a negative thing. Accountability to me is the greatest form of love. I love you enough to not allow you to lie to your family anymore by telling them you're going to work and then pretending that you're actually doing something.
Yeah, exactly. When we talk to our coaches and our mentors inside of the brokerage, and especially when we're working with new licensees, we're holding them accountable for a lot of things: daily success habits, putting people into their lead tracker, top 50, all these different tools that we have. And when we do that, when we train the trainer has to be taught that this is, I care so much about you that I'm not going to let you fail.
Right.
I'm going to force you to do these things. If you don't, that's your choice. And, you can exit stage left, seek excellence elsewhere. But when you're here, we're going to hold your feet to the fire because we know you can do this. We believe in you.
And even a step beyond that is we're going to teach you how to hold your own feet to the fire.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We have to get to the place where the choice of accountability is so real. I'd leverage this here. You remember Jason Hewlett talking about keeping the promises you make? That's what I think accountability is. So many people tell you that they're, Chance, I'm a man of integrity. My word is my bond in every area of my life except my own. Right?
So all the
time. like we have integrity and it's in our core value. That's who we are. But then you told me you were going to make an hour of prospecting calls today. And you spent 55 minutes of it getting ready and 5 minutes actually calling. And when they didn't answer, you said no one was there. And so you say you're living with integrity, but your behavior is not consistent with who you say you are. And so accountability creates an environment where people become aware that they're not living with integrity with themselves, and they change that behavior. And that happens through accountability. But it's very internal. It happens because you choose that. Look, I mean, my gosh, Chance, I trust you. If you tell me you're going to do something, I 100% believe you're going to do it. And except in areas in your business or life. Right.
And I think, you hit the nail on the head. Is there's, we call it getting ready to get ready to get ready to get ready to get ready. Right. Yep. So, we'll hear from a new person. How many people did you call this? Well, I'm organizing my database.
Yeah.
And the next week I'm organizing my database and I'm organizing my database. And I'm like, well, okay, you can organize your database, but as you put somebody in there, let's pick up the phone and call. Right? Put someone in your CRM, pick up the phone and call them, put the next person in, pick up the phone and call them. And let's tie an activity to your getting ready. But just getting ready is not productive. It's not you're not going to sell any homes by getting organized.
You need to go to YouTube and look up a video by Zig Ziglar. And it's called Get Cooked into Squat, Fixing to Rise. And if you type those in, you'll find the video of Zig Ziglar telling the story about the biscuits that his granny used to make and how he put them in the oven before they were rise. They came out like little hard hockey pucks. And he said, Granny, what happened to these biscuits? And Granny says, they got cooked into squat, fixing to rise. That means that they keep turning up the heat. People are doing transactions and you're still getting ready. And at the end, you're going to end up with nothing because you're going to get cooked into squat while you're getting ready to do something great. So how about we just do something great instead of getting ready? So that's one of my favorite things. So that's number 4, Chance, is the accountability piece of it. So we've talked about the Sherpa and the guide. We've talked about, the perspective a coach gives you and helps you see things differently from a different perspective. We talked about the clarity that happens by putting systems in place and tracking the right things so that we make our decisions based on data, not gut feel or emotion. And then we talked about creating a culture of accountability, and that accountability is love. And those are my top 4. So number 5, and this is big to me, is that is the ability we have to help people grow beyond what they believe is possible. And so, I believe that people have goals based on their experiences in life. And so our experiences create our beliefs control our actions, and then our actions get us the results that we want. And because they are limited in their experiences, they have limiting beliefs. And what a coach does is a coach has helped people like them who've had other experiences achieve a much higher level of income and a better quality of life. And so what we do is a coach gives you the ability to borrow their own life experiences until you can develop your own experiences and beliefs that by doing these things, you're going to get a better result. And all of a sudden your result starts to change. So when I help a Houston agent go from $250,000 a year in gross closed income to $3 million, and when we look at the first goal that they set, the goal was to go from 250 to 500 because they believed that that was their value. And all of a sudden hitting $500,000, they believed that, oh my gosh, I've had this experience. It wasn't that hard. I'm getting systems in place. So let's double it. So we went from 5 to a million, and all of a sudden $1 million of commission. How can you imagine in, Pearland, you can make $1 million. Well, how do you go from 1 to 2 or from 2 to 3? The difference is your experiences and your beliefs change. And that gives you the ability to grow, because your activities and the actions change and give you a different result. And so for me, coaching I think it's essential. I think every agent should have an assistant, and I think every agent should have a coach. Mm-hmm. And if you have those two things, let's go. If you don't have one or the other, call me, I'll help you. And it doesn't even have to be me. I really think that, you have a coaching culture within your organization, and you're going to take them to a certain place. And then I hope you, and then I know you do, because we coach so many of your agents, and then they come to us, and then we take them to the next stratosphere. But right. You build a coaching culture.
Yeah, the terminology we use, and we actually borrowed this from one of the charities that we work with in our brokerage, is see better, seek better. Right? So I
love that.
If your past experience, and it's a saying from Big Brothers Big Sisters, if all you've seen is poverty around you, you don't know anything other than that. And so, the goal of Big Brothers Big Sisters is to mentor people to see better, seek better. And we kind of have taken that same philosophy when it comes to, you've done this long enough. I've done this long enough. Every time we ask an agent how much money they want to make, a new licensee, the answer is always $100,000. Yep. $100,000. Always, every time. And then we're like, okay, well, what does $100,000 get you, and why is that important? And then let's move beyond that, because if you're self-limiting to $100,000, we need to have a totally different conversation.
When an agent says to me they want to make $100,000, I look them in the eye, Chance, just like I'm looking at you, and I say, a month?
Right.
And they go, what? No, a year. I'm like, why not? Because the only difference between someone making $100,000 a month and $100,000 a year is the activities they focus on. It's not the quality of the individual. We have amazing people getting below average results, and I have average people that are knocking it out of the park because they focus on the right activities. And so that whole understanding of what do I need to focus on is where, that's where coaching really comes in.
How many times have you had that person that's come to you and said, I don't understand how this agent down the street, who I don't know how they put pants on in the morning, is as successful as they are?
Yep.
And, the answer is they put their pants on and then they go to work.
They focus on different things. They're not getting cooked into squat. They're not getting ready to get ready.
Exactly. All right, so that takes us through our 5. Can I ask you a bonus question?
Absolutely. There's no limit.
All right. When is the right time to hire a coach? Because I will tell you, when I hired my first coach, we were still struggling to establish the business. $500 a month is what I paid back then for my coach. And I honestly thought my wife might murder me when I got home and told her that I had just spent added $500 a month to a budget where we didn't really have $500 a month. So when is the right time?
So what was your result?
It paid for itself in 3 months.
And
for the whole year. For the whole year, it paid for itself in 3 months.
That's usually the case. We are fortunate to be in a business where the income opportunities are so big. And so I like to say, Chance, what's your average sales price in your marketplace?
Let's just say, for ease of math, $300,000.
And so the average commission is between $7,500 and $9,000, right? And so, you get into coaching, you're going to pay, let's just pay our average client's around $1,000. So you spend $1,000 a month. So you spend $12,000 a year to work with someone who helps give you clarity, gives you the systems and the processes you need to get you to focus on the right activities, incorporates an element of accountability, and put you on track to double your production. You'd have to set a goal to not do any of the things I ask you to do in order for coaching to be an expense. And so when do I think you should get a coach? I don't like people to go into debt for coaching. I think that you have to be able to pay for it. But it's a bit, we're in a business. I remember my first business, I went and signed a lease for $1,500 a month. And then I went and got a loan from the associates at 21% for $6,000 so I could buy the equipment to get into business. And so, business expenses that are necessary to helping you grow your business, I think you just have to find a way to budget them in. And it's really hard because agents, they combine their personal life with their business life. And you almost have to you got to separate the two. This is our business expense. We're going to take it off the top. It's going to happen. And I'm going to do what my coach tells me to do and get the results that are done. So I've got a program, if you're not making $100,000 a year, I think you need to look at company provided resources first. You need to really get into what, is in your coaching culture within your company. Do they have a mentorship program? Do they have agents and brokers that's going to work with you? Do they have online training? Like our training center, you incorporate that into your training and your onboarding and your new agent training. So you've got tools and resources. So I want you to get a basis of foundation. And then when you're at about 100,000, if you're doing, 15 transactions to 20 transactions a year, that's the time that it starts to get real. That there's money to be made here. You're not sure what to do. That's when I would really reach out to someone like Workman and say, I want to do a coaching consult. What does it take to get involved? How do I do it? Let's go. And so that's the real answer. I don't think that everybody should jump in and get a coach right now. I never want to put someone into coaching that puts them into a financial devastating situation. I want to help them. Now, I do have coaching clients that start coaching with us and they don't tell us the truth in their early stages of coaching. And then I realize they're messed up financially. And I've got a CFO and a full-time accountant. We get into their business and we help them get their house in order. And, if they do nothing else, that's one of the most valuable things that we do for people is we help them get their house in order so that they can have that growth that they're looking for. And then, really anybody who wants to double. So you take your best performance in the marketplace and you want to double, call me because that's what we do. Sometimes you'll hear people say, I want a little more realistic goal. Don't ever say that to me. Because I don't care where, Og Mandino says, take your best performance and times it by 100. Me saying double is weak, according to Og Mandino, let's double. So, and I don't care if you did $1 million or $2 million, let's double. What do we have to do to double it? And it's not because I want to make more money. I had a client say to me one time, Luke, he said to me, Verl, when's enough? Isn't that a great question? When's enough? And I said, well, when your retirement's completely funded, and you have cash flow to retire, live the lifestyle you want, when all your children's colleges, missions, and education is paid for, and you've given it away to all the people that need money and there's nobody else that needs anything, that's when you've done enough. Yeah. And for me, that I don't see an end to that. I think there's always going to be people who need. It's not that I want more money. I want to make an impact on the world. I want to change people's lives and give back. So how do we create an environment that throws off so much cash that we can give back and start changing other people's lives, man? That's when it really gets interesting, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's when you're talking about legacy.
Yeah. To me, that's what, real estate, I don't know if you're not going to do real estate, what are you going to do instead? Get a job? Seriously.
Be a greeter at Walmart.
Right.
I have an agent who jokes about that all the time. Every time something happens on a transaction that drives her crazy, I'm going to Walmart.
Right. Yep.
All right. So if somebody wanted to reach out to you and talk about coaching, how would they do that? What's the best way to get it?
Well, you can go to our website, workmansuccess.com, or send an email to coach@workmansuccess.com. And one of our business consultants will have a conversation with you. Nate runs my sales team. He's my oldest son. Ryan also, my son works with him. He's got 5 or 6 other people that will sit down. We'll do an analysis of your business, take a look at where you are and look and see if there's a fit. And we'll take you through our program, what it looks like.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Verl. I appreciate you being here with us today. I thank you for taking the time to watch and invest this kind of time resource in your business to help build your business. I hope you found value in it, and we will see you next time on Top 5.